As you all know, Giannis and Wembanyama recently squared off for the first time in the NBA, and it was must-see TV. After the game, Giannis was asked about Wembanyama, and he had some very interesting things to say. Let's break down exactly what Giannis said. Providing some analysis, the discussion what the future could hold if these two ever ended up on the same team. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get right into it. Specifically, Giannis talked about what it would be like to actually play with Wembanyama, not against him. Given Giannis' stature in the league and the hype surrounding Wembanyama, this topic has fans and the media buzzing. In the game, Giannis poured a 44-point while Wembanyama held his own with 27 points and 5 blocks. It was a back-and-forth battle all night long. Giannis' initial comments. Alright, so after the Bucksburg game, where he dueled with Wembanyama, Giannis was asked what he thought about the young rookie. Giannis had nothing but praise, saying, "He's special. He's got to be an extremely good player. He plays the right way, he plays to win. I've never seen anything like him." Very high praises coming from the two-time MVP. But later on, Giannis was asked specifically what it would be like to play with Wembanyama rather than against him, and here's what he said. "If I was ever able to play with Victor, I think we would be a very scary duo. We would complement each other very well since we can both handle the ball, shoot, pass, and defend at an elite level, even with our size. I love playing with great players who want to win as much as me. Victor is very competitive and not scared of anyone. He plays both ends 100% all game." He went on to fantasize about what they could accomplish together. "Just imagine the lobs I could throw at him. He could catch so many alley-oops and throw down dunks on anyone. On defense, no one is scoring on us with how we protect the rim. With our length and the athleticism, we could do things that have never been seen before. And we will push each other every day in practice to get better. I'm very excited to watch him keep growing in this league." Analysis? Wow, so Giannis clearly has tremendous respect for Wembanyama and seems thrilled at the idea of playing with him someday. And can you blame him? That would instantly become the most athletic and versatile frontcourt duo in NBA history. The 7'4" with a reported 8-foot wingspan, Wembanyama is an absolute unicorn who can handle the ball, shoot threes, run the floor like a guard, protect the rim better than anyone else we've ever seen at his size and age. And when you pair that with Giannis, one of the most dominant physical forces we've ever witnessed in the paint at 6'11", this is downright scary to imagine what they could accomplish together. Not only would they be an unstoppable lob duo, but they could also take turns facilitating the offense with their elite passing skills. But players have incredible court vision for big men and make their teammates better. Defensively, they would instantly have the best rim protection in the league and cause absolute chaos with their length and athleticism, jumping passing lanes. The hypothetical pairing won't likely happen for several years since Wembanyama was just drafted in 2023. But Giannis clearly seems intrigued by the idea of one day sharing the court with a French phenom. And I'm sure the feeling is mutual from Wembanyama's perspective. As rookies, rising stars typically want to play with established superstars like Giannis because it helps elevate their game and provides them the best chance to compete at high level. Wembanyama has sky-high potential, but would benefit greatly from playing alongside an elite talent like Giannis, who could help show him the ropes. It's the best possible scenario for a young player. Now, Wembanyama still has a lot of development ahead before we start penciling him and Giannis into the same lineup. But there's no denying it would be awesome to watch and likely result in some NBA championships along the way. Potential issues? While the idea of pairing all-world talent like Giannis and Wembanyama together on the court is tantalizing, it could also come up with some significant growth pains. For starters, they both dominate the ball and are used to being the unquestioned alpha dog and primary offensive option. Giannis has operated in that role for years now in Milwaukee, and by the time Wembanyama reaches his prime, he will likely be shouldering a similar creative load as well. Finding a balance between the two could prove difficult, especially because both players lack consistent perimeter jumpers that would allow for more natural spacing. Giannis does most of his damage in the paint, while Wembanyama is still early in his development as a shooter. So if you're talking about the two-ball dominant player who does a lot of their work around the basket, that could lead to a lot of standout and lack of flow or rhythm if the balance isn't right. That would be major kinks for the coaching staff to work out. We've also seen plenty of examples over the years showing that superstar duos don't always mesh right away, if ever. Just look at Anthony Davis and LeBron James at the Lakers. While capable of high heights together when healthy, they have also dealt with chemistry issues at times. Egos can often clash when you have two players used to getting theirs. It can breed jealousy, resentment, and just overall awkward dynamics. Giannis and Wembanyama would have to subvert their own egos and stats for the greater good. Of course, winning cures all ills, but it may require being well to take a step back individually before figuring out how to properly coexist. Playing together in an all-star game is much different than in a competitive playoff series. It's unlikely either would want to completely change their style of play after years of success. So, finding the middle ground is easier said than done between the two high-usage superstars. Perimeter shooting and playmaking around them would be crucial. Ultimately, talent usually wins out in the NBA, but there will likely be some bumps and inconsistencies along the way. As long as both buy into a team-first mentality and the coaching staff can figure out how to effectively stagger them minutes together, the ceiling would be incredible. It just may take patience. Potential team fits. So, that begs the question, what team could actually make this superstar duo a reality whenever Wembanyama comes as a free agent down the road? Well, Giannis himself could orchestrate it in Milwaukee if the Bucks were able to trade for or sign Wembanyama. While the small market franchise may not seem like an obvious draw, the Bucks do have Giannis locked up for long-term and a championship infrastructure in place. Knowing Giannis' royalty after signing the Supermax deal, Milwaukee could certainly position themselves to make a run at Wembanyama and pair them with their franchise cornerstone. But it would likely require some salary cap maneuvering and trades to make the money work. Still never say never. The other intriguing option would be if Wembanyama ultimately ends up in a big market himself, such as New York or Los Angeles. For example, if he becomes a stud with the Knicks or Lakers early on in his career, while Giannis is still dominating out east, rumors will instantly start swirling about them joining forces down the road. In that scenario, Giannis could pull a shocker and leave Milwaukee for the bright lights to team up with Wembanyama on one of the NBA's flagship franchises. That would undoubtedly create the newest super team and title favorite instantly. We saw it a few years ago with Kevin Durant joining the Warriors. Stars in their prime will jump at the chance to play with other elite talents, no matter the backlash. So if Wembanyama reaches his potential quickly and finds himself in a major market, that could tempt Giannis in 3 to 4 years as he approaches his early 30s. The super duo craze started by LeBron James and continued recently by players like Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and others may not be cooling off anytime soon. So, all bets are off when it comes to superstar movement until further notice. It would be an absolute dream duo that could reshape the power balance of the NBA. Giannis clearly sounds very intrigued by the idea and open to it if the opportunity ever presented itself. Only time will tell if Wembanyama lives up to the unreasonable hype surrounding him already at just 19 years old. But if he does, look for Giannis to be amongst his biggest recruiting pitchmen in a few years. The thought of those two sharing the court one day is just way too tantalizing. And there you have it, folks. Those were Giannis' genuine thoughts on playing with Wembanyama someday, as well as my breakdown on the possibilities of them actually joining forces. Let us know what you all think down in the comments. Do you want to see Giannis and Wembanyama team up someday? What teams could make it happen realistically?